They thought it was just a myth, until the screams were real and the steel cracked like bones. What really happened that night in Point Pleasant? They say death sends warnings few choose to hear until it's too late. In the small town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, during the late 1960s, something extraordinary was seen lurking in the night skies. A giant winged creature with glowing red eyes haunted the shadows, terrifying residents and sparking countless stories. This creature was called the Mothman. But this wasn't just a legend, it was a warning. A supernatural herald that foreshadowed a tragic disaster. On December 15, 1967, the Silver Bridge connecting Point Pleasant to Ohio suddenly collapsed during rush hour, plunging dozens of cars into the freezing Ohio River. 46 people died that day, including some of the very witnesses who first reported the Mothman. This story is where true crime meets the paranormal. It is the tale of a town haunted by tragedy and something beyond human understanding. Point Pleasant was a peaceful river town, home to about 5,000 people. Life was slow and calm, the kind of place where everyone knew their neighbors. That all changed one chilly November night in 1966. Roger and Linda Scarberry were driving near an old World War II TNT plant on the outskirts of town when they saw it. A giant creature standing, over 7 feet tall, with huge bat-like wings and eyes glowing red like embers, blocked their path. They described the figure as human-shaped but otherworldly, with wings folded behind its back. Terrified, they fled the scene. At first, their story was dismissed as fantasy or hallucination, but soon, more sightings poured in. Over the next year, dozens of residents reported seeing the same strange creature. Sometimes it appeared near the riverbanks. Other times it followed speeding cars or hovered silently in the sky. One couple, Steve and Mary Millette, encountered the Mothman near the old TNT plant. They saw its glowing red eyes watching them from the shadows. Another man, Woodrow Derenberger, claimed the creature communicated with him, warning of impending disaster. Even the local police chief admitted they had no explanation. The mysterious sightings sent waves of fear rippling through the town. Electrical disturbances and unexplained lights were reported near the creature's appearances. Some residents experienced sudden chills or felt watched. The Mothman became a symbol of dread and uncertainty. Was it an unknown animal, a cryptid, or something supernatural, a spirit or omen? Scientists suggested it could be a large owl or crane misidentified in the dark, but that explanation failed to convince the frightened townsfolk. On December 15, 1967, at 5:04 p.m., the Silver Bridge, built in 1928, suddenly gave way. The middle span buckled and fell, sending vehicles plummeting into the freezing river below. 46 people died, many trapped in their cars as the bridge collapsed without warning. The tragedy shocked the nation. Among the victims were Roger and Linda Scarberry, the very first people to report the Mothman. The National Transportation Safety Board launched a thorough investigation. They determined a single eye bar, a vital suspension chain component, had corroded and failed. This caused the catastrophic collapse. Officials called it a tragic accident, the result of decades of wear and poor maintenance. For the people of Point Pleasant, the disaster was more than an accident. They believed the Mothman had been a warning, a supernatural sign ignored. In the months following the collapse, strange occurrences continued. Locals reported seeing ghostly figures near the riverbanks, hearing whispers on the wind, and feeling sudden cold spots. One woman claimed a glowing red figure visited her in the night, warning, "Beware what's coming next." Paranormal investigators recorded unexplained electromagnetic activity and photographed faint shadowy shapes resembling the creature. The Mothman legend inspired many theories: a supernatural guardian trying to warn the town, a harbinger of death and disaster, an alien or interdimensional being, a misidentified large bird. Skeptics held to the scientific explanation of the bridge collapse and dismissed the sightings as mass hysteria or folklore. But the survivors and witnesses stood firm in their belief. The story of the Mothman remains alive today. Point Pleasant hosts an annual Mothman festival, drawing believers and curious visitors from around the world. Books, documentaries, and a Hollywood film, The Mothman Prophecies, keep the legend alive. The town embraces its haunted past, both as a memorial to the lost and a mystery that defies explanation. The Mothman and the Silver Bridge disaster blur the line between fact and myth, science and the supernatural. Was the Mothman a creature unknown to science, a spirit warning of disaster, or merely a collective nightmare born of fear? Whatever. The tragedy remains a chilling reminder. Sometimes warnings come not in words, but in shadows. And sometimes those warnings go unheeded, with deadly consequences. Following the initial reports by Roger and Linda Scarberry, the flood of Mothman sightings overwhelmed Point Pleasant's residents and nearby towns. Witnesses described the creature in chilling detail, its towering stature, massive wingspan, and those haunting, glowing red eyes that seemed to pierce through the darkness. Steve and Mary Mallet, a young couple living close to the old TNT factory, recounted a terrifying encounter late one autumn evening. As they walked their dog near the riverbank, a silent shadow descended from the sky. The creature's wings unfurled, blocking the moonlight, casting a monstrous silhouette over them. They froze, watching the red eyes glow brighter as it glided silently above. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, the figure vanished into the night. Another witness, Woodrow Derenberger, a local salesman, had an experience that crossed into the bizarre. Woodrow claimed the Mothman communicated with him telepathically. One night, the creature appeared in his home, warning in an eerie, wordless message. "Danger is coming. Be ready." Woodrow's story fueled the belief that the Mothman was more than just an animal. It was a messenger, a supernatural herald of catastrophe. Intrigued and disturbed by the strange events, paranormal researchers and cryptozoologists descended on Point Pleasant. Using electromagnetic field detectors, thermal cameras, and audio recording equipment, they sought evidence of the Mothman's presence. Their investigations yielded unusual findings. Electronic devices would malfunction or record strange interference near the riverbanks, an abandoned TNT plant. Some cameras captured fleeting shadows and shapes that defied explanation. Witnesses reported sudden drops in temperature, unexplained whispers on the wind, and feelings of overwhelming dread. One investigator even claimed to have seen faint, glowing red eyes reflected in a river puddle during the witching hour. Though concrete proof remained elusive, the phenomena convinced many that Point Pleasant's haunting was genuine. On December 15, 1967, the long-feared disaster struck. During the evening rush hour, the Silver Bridge suddenly buckled under the weight of traffic. The suspension chain's corroded eye-bar snapped, causing a catastrophic collapse. Emergency responders scrambled to rescue survivors from the icy Ohio River's grasp. The tragedy claimed 46 lives, a staggering loss for a small town. Official investigations cited engineering failures and neglect, but for many residents, the scientific explanation was incomplete. They believed the Mothman's appearances had been an ominous warning ignored by the authorities and the community. Survivors reported an eerie silence in the aftermath, broken only by whispered prayers and the haunting memory of the creature's glowing eyes. The disaster left a deep scar on Point Pleasant. Grief and fear mingled with a growing legend that the Mothman had been a supernatural sentinel, a dark guardian trying to protect them. Local churches held prayer vigils, and some clergy spoke openly about the Mothman as a spiritual omen. Others dismissed the stories as fear-driven folklore. Yet, decades later, the memory of those nights and the creature persists. Townsfolk speak quietly of strange occurrences, unexplained lights, sudden chills, and the occasional glimpse of a shadowy figure soaring overhead. Over time, multiple explanations for the Mothman have emerged. Cryptid hypothesis. Some believe the creature is an undiscovered species, perhaps a giant owl or a prehistoric survivor. Its glowing eyes could be explained by natural reflection from animal eyes at night. Supernatural messenger. Others argue the Mothman is a spiritual entity, a guardian angel, a demon, or a restless soul warning of disaster. Alien or interdimensional being. Some theorists suggest the Mothman is extraterrestrial, a visitor from another world or dimension appearing at moments of crisis. Psychological phenomenon. Skeptics propose mass hysteria, folklore, and the power of suggestion as reasons for the reports. Point Pleasant embraces its eerie past with the annual Mothman Festival, held every September. The event attracts cryptid enthusiasts, paranormal investigators, and tourists eager to explore the legend. Museums dedicated to the Mothman feature. Exhibits on the sightings, the Silver Bridge collapse, and paranormal research. The town's identity has become entwined with this mysterious figure, a symbol of warning, tragedy, and the unknown. Hollywood immortalized the tale in the 2002 film The Mothman Prophecies, starring Richard Gere. The movie brought international attention to the legend, inspiring renewed interest and debate. Even decades after the Silver Bridge disaster, reports of Mothman-like sightings occasionally surface. In 2017, on the 50th anniversary of the collapse, a few residents claimed to have seen a shadowy figure with glowing eyes near the river. These modern sightings keep the mystery alive and fuel speculation about the creature's purpose. Is the Mothman still watching? Is it waiting? Or has it disappeared, leaving only whispers behind? Experts studying trauma note that Point Pleasant's collective experience has deeply influenced its community psyche. Survivors and witnesses often describe recurring nightmares, anxiety, and a profound connection to the legend. The Mothman story serves as a coping mechanism, a way to make sense of inexplicable loss and fear. Descendants of those lost in the Silver Bridge disaster sometimes recount family stories involving the Mothman. One woman recalled her grandmother's warnings about the creature and how she insisted the town was cursed. These oral histories add layers of personal tragedy and belief to the legend. Scientists and skeptics have conducted multiple studies aimed at demystifying the Mothman. Explanations often focus on misidentifications of barred owls or sandhill cranes, known to inhabit the area. However, these birds don't fully match the eyewitness descriptions, especially the creature's size and glowing red eyes. Skeptics argue that human psychology, the power of suggestion, and media sensationalism amplified the legend. The Mothman stands alongside famous cryptids like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. It represents the intersection of folklore, tragedy, and the human need to find meaning in chaos. The legend's endurance illustrates how paranormal stories shape community identity and cultural memory. The tale of the Mothman and the Silver Bridge disaster is one of mystery, tragedy, and unanswered questions. It reminds us that sometimes the most chilling stories lie at the edge of what we understand. Was the Mothman a guardian angel, a cryptid, or a manifestation of collective fear? The truth remains hidden in the shadows. The legend of the Mothman has not faded with time. It continues to inspire curiosity, fear, and fascination worldwide. Point Pleasant remains a pilgrimage site for paranormal enthusiasts, researchers, and skeptics alike. Every year, new stories emerge. Some claim to have witnessed unexplained lights in the sky. Others report strange noises near the old TNT plant or near the Ohio River banks, where the Silver Bridge once stood. Is the Mothman still watching, or has it moved on, leaving only echoes in the minds of those who dare to remember? The Mothman legend serves as a powerful cultural symbol. For many, it is a reminder of human vulnerability, how fragile life is, and how thin the line is between safety and disaster. Psychologists see the story as a collective expression of grief and trauma. The Mothman becomes a focal point where fear and hope collide, helping communities process loss. This legend also reflects our fascination with the unknown, the need to explain what science cannot yet fully understand. From a practical standpoint, the Silver Bridge collapse sparked important changes in engineering and public safety. It highlighted the dangers of aging infrastructure and the need for rigorous inspection and maintenance. The tragedy pushed the United States government to create new safety standards for bridges and other critical structures. While the supernatural aspects remain unproven, the real human cost of ignoring warnings, both technical and perhaps paranormal, cannot be overstated. Today, advances in technology offer new ways to investigate mysteries like the Mothman. Infrared cameras, drones, and sophisticated sensors provide tools for researchers to gather evidence. However, despite numerous expeditions and investigations, definitive proof of the Mothman remains elusive. Is this because the creature is supernatural, existing beyond normal reality, or because it is a legend born from fear and coincidence. Skeptics argue the Mothman story is a classic case of folklore fueled by tragedy, misidentification, and media sensationalism. Believers maintain the sightings and experiences point to something genuinely unexplained. The truth likely lies somewhere in between. Stories like the Mothman serve an important psychological and social function. They help communities process trauma and tragedy. They provide a narrative framework for the inexplicable. They connect us to something larger, whether that's nature, spirit, or the unknown. The Mothman and the Silver Bridge disaster remain one of America's most haunting true crime stories intertwined with paranormal mystery. They challenge us to look beyond the surface, to question what we know, and to respect the power of warnings, spoken or silent. So next time you find yourself near a dark riverbank with red eyes glowing in the shadows, ask yourself, is it a creature, a spirit, or a message from beyond? And perhaps most importantly, will you heed the warning? Thank you for joining this deep dive into the chilling tale of the Mothman and the Silver Bridge disaster. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime stories with a paranormal twist.